Hello, boys and girls. Today is Monday, and I'm going to start reading our new book called Friendship According to Humphrey. I'm going to start by reading the back of the book because that always gives you a little clue what it's going to be about. It says, a new friend. Room 26 has a new class pet, Og the Frog. Humphrey can't wait to be friends with Og, but Og doesn't seem interested. To make matters worse, the students are so fascinated by Og, they almost stop paying attention to Humphrey altogether. Humphrey knows that friendship can be a tricky business, but if any hamster can become buddies with a frog, Humphrey can. So that's the back of the book. A couple things. Every day, most of you that know me know I have a cup of coffee. So every day, see which coffee mug I have, and then you can comment on that too. And let's start reading. So chapter 1. If I don't finish this chapter in about 8 minutes, then I will have like a part 2, because usually the videos only get uploaded, and if they're too long, they don't get uploaded. All right. So this chapter 1 is called Strange Change. Bump, bump, bump. Mrs. Brisbane and I were headed back to Longfellow School after the long winter's holiday. But there were a lot more bumps in the road since the last time I rode in her small blue station wagon. Now, Humphrey, Mrs. Brisbane said. She was interrupted by another bump. Don't be surprised. Bump! If there are a few changes. Bump! In room 26. Bump! My stomach felt slightly queasy as I hung on tightly to my ladder, so I had a hard time understanding what she was telling me. What did she mean by changes? While you were at home with Bert, bump! I came back to school to get things all set. I was home with her husband, Bert, a lot over the holidays, and as much as I'd like him, I was worn out from running mazes a couple times a day. Mrs. Brisbane loves to watch me run mazes. At least back in school, I could catch 40 winks once in a while. And since I'm a classroom hamster, I belong in the classroom. My stomach calmed down a bit as Miss Brisbane pulled her car into the parking space. Now, what about these changes? I asked, but it came out as squeak, 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 as usual. It's good to shake things up once in a while, Humphrey, Miss Brisbane assured me as she opened the car door. You'll see. I was already shaken up from the bumpy ride. Then a blast of icy wind made me shiver, and I couldn't see a thing because Miss Brisbane had thrown a wool scarf over my cage. I didn't mind as long as I was on my way back to my classroom, where I'd be seeing all my friends again. Just thinking about them gave me a warm feeling, or maybe it was the heat from the school furnace as we walked in the front door. Hi, Sue! Are we on for today? A familiar voice called out. I couldn't see Miss Loomis, but I recognized her voice. Miss Loomis taught a class down the hall. She was also Miss Brisbane's friend. Sure, Angie. How about after morning recess? See you then, said Miss Loomis. Finally, Miss Brisbane set my cage down in room 26 and removed the scarf. When she did, I was in for a shock. Something unspeakable had happened to my classroom. For one thing, the tables faced the wrong direction. They used to point towards the front of the room. Now they were sideways. Instead of being arranged in neat rows like before, the tables were clumped together in groups. Mrs. Brisbane's desk had moved to the corner of the room. Pictures of people I'd never seen before replaced the happy snowmen that had covered the bulletin board in December. I was so dizzy from all the changes, I didn't notice the room filling up until, lower your voice, AJ yelled, Hiya, Humphrey! as he came out of the cloakroom. Soon my other friends stopped by to say hello. "Did you have a good vacation?" asked Miranda Golden. Miranda is an almost perfect human. That's why I think of her as Golden Miranda. "My mother says to tell you hi," Speak Up Saye said in her sweet, soft voice. "Hey, Humphrey Dumpty," Garth shouted. That made Gail snicker, but I didn't mind. She laughed at everything. At that moment the bell rang. "Class, look for your names and please take your seats now," Miss Brisbane said. There was a lot of thumping and bumping as my classmates located their new seats. Now I had a better view of some of the students who used to sit on the opposite side of the room, like Don't Complain Mandy Payne, Sit Still Seth Stevenson, and I Heard That Kirk Chen. Maybe it is good to shake things up once in a while. Then I noticed something odd. There was a stranger in room 26 sitting near Saye, Gale, and Kirk. "Miss Brisbane, she doesn't belong here," I squeaked out loud. "She's in the wrong room." Maybe Miss Brisbane didn't hear me. "Class, as you can see, we're making some changes this year, and one of our changes is our brand new pupil," the teacher announced. "Come here, Tabitha." The new girl seemed scared as she got up and stood next to Miss Brisbane. "This is Tabitha Clark, and I want you all to welcome her. Tabitha, why don't you tell us something about yourself?" The new girl looked down and shook her head. Miss Brisbane quickly turned back to the class. "We'll do that later. Now, who would like to be in charge of showing Tabitha around today?" "Me!" a voice called out. Of course it was Raise Your Hand, Heidi Hopper, who always forgets to raise her hand. "Hands, please, Heidi." I think Mandy had her hand up first. "Mandy, you will be Tabitha's buddy. I expect each of you to introduce yourself to Tabitha and include her in your activities." She turned to the girl. "I know you'll make a lot of good friends in room 26. You may sit down now." The girl kept staring at the floor as she returned to her seat. She looked as if she needed a friend. I was so busy watching her, I only half listened to what Miss Brisbane was saying. Was she really talking about poultry? "After all, this is Longfellow's school," she said, "and I hope you know Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was a famous American poet."